Real quick before we get started, we have something really cool we want to tell you about.
Doot Loot is a cEDH-focused Discord where you can buy rare Japanese and Russian foils, signed and altered cards, and other rarities to bling out your decks.
They work directly with some very talented artists in the community and offer exclusive cards to the server ahead of the public. Do you know how to read?
It's kind of nice all being on a Discord because it makes it simple. You don't have a bunch of cards clogging up your feed all the time.
Yeah, plus there's monthly giveaways, so that's also very cool and fun.
And there's already over 1,000 members at the Discord server, so we'll link it in the description below so you can go check out Doot Loot too.
Like, let's get into the podcast or something.
That sounds great. I don't know why, but Dylan reminds me of the lead singer of Breaking Benjamin. Was that,
Good old Ben.
Oh.
Ben from Breaking Ben.
Who's the one who was from Matchbox 20?
Rob
That's who I was
Thomas.
thinking of. Yeah, Rob Thomas.
You think
is
I
who
look like
was
him?
Thinking of. No, I don't.
Me neither.
That's why I was so fucking confused.
No, yeah, Rob Thomas sings for Matchbox 20.
And he has his own solo career, too.
Sure. And then Ben Jumin is from Breaking Benjamin. I actually don't know his name.
Was Benjamin also in an episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
I don't know. Was Matchbox 20? Oh, yeah, Rob Thomas was. It was like a whole thing,
With
right?
Sinbad.
All right. Can you give me another check to make sure I'm all boxed up?
See, you feel a little closer this week.
I feel closer?
No, the camera. I was
in
talking
a-
to the camera.
Oh,
I
in a
wasn't
good way or in a
talking
bad
to
way?
you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I fuck off. Was there something else?
The Dragon Shield intro?
This podcast is brought to you in part by Dragon Shield. Use code PLAYTOWIN5 at the affiliate link down below for 5% off to help support the show.
Welcome to the Play to Win podcast, where we talk about winning in cEDH. I am Cam.
And I'm Dylan. That's what I didn't do. I didn't do an actual mic check. Sorry.
Oh.
I think we're loud.
Yeah, be careful of my water.
No. Too careful with water. I hit the limit.
Yeah, find a happy medium.
Stop fucking up in either way if you could.
Stick with the correct thing and just do it.
Have you tried not fucking up so much? God damn it.
Best advice. Changed my life.
Okay. This podcast is brought to you in part by Dragon Shield. Use code PLAYTOWIN5 at the affiliate link down below for 5% off to help support the show.
Welcome to the Play to Win podcast, where we talk about winning in cEDH. I'm Cam.
And I'm Dylan. This week we are talking about pet cards. We have a topic submitted by a patron.
Connor Sipon.
Connor, thank you, Connor, for the topic. We're talking about pet cards today. I have a list of 5 or so. You have a list of 5 or so?
Yeah, there's like
Or
9
so.
cards on the list, because I think we share one of them.
Okay, yeah. Can you guess which one it is?
Yeah, let us know if you know it ahead of time.
Should we define what a pet card is?
We should figure out what we're talking
What's a
about
pet
before
card?
we talk about it. Yeah.
Normally, to me, a pet card means a card that maybe isn't necessarily the best card, but it's a card that you like and you try to play often because you enjoy it. In cEDH, this doesn't really make a ton of sense because we're trying to win the game. That's what we're trying to do. That's the game. But we're still Magic players and we still want to try things out and we still have biases towards cards. So I think most Magic players probably still do have pet cards, whether or not they're always playing them all the time or just, you know, you slip them out for the tournament and you put them back in or something. Different players, different things. But that's kind of how I look at a pet card.
Yeah, I think you see this in casual more often, where you go, every single one of my decks that have white cards in them is going to have Suture Priest, because I love Suture Priest.
Right, yeah.
Everyone has their own reason for liking the cards that they do.
That was an example, not true for you, right? You're not a Suture Priest guy?
The reason why Suture Priest in particular is in my head is because it was a card I wanted to be a pet card,
Yeah.
like in 2013.
Sure.
And then I realized, oh, this card sucks.
Not good at all. Gaining life, who cares?
No, and like, oh, I have to play cards that give my opponent's creatures to make it good? That doesn't sound like a winning strategy.
Yeah.
You know those from like original Ravnica block, like the black 7/7 that makes 2
3/3s, yeah, 2 3/3s or whatever.
You play like that with Suture Priest and like...
Would you gain life when creatures come in under your opponent's control? Is that
They'll
what it is?
lose life
Oh, they
when
lose
creatures
life.
come into
Okay,
play.
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
so
okay.
like you play a 3-mana 4/6 and
Yeah.
then they lose 4 life because they made 4 fairies.
But now they have 4 fairies.
And I'm in an Esper deck now that has to play white cards, a blue card, and a black card at least.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good. Pet cards often aren't good, but some pet cards are good. Some
See,
pet cards are just good, though,
Yeah,
right?
like that's the one side of the pendulum of pet cards. But the other side is that like they're just other powerful things that you just like to play that, again, like you said, might not be the most optimal, but are still really good. And
Yeah.
it's a concept that comes from 60 card formats
Yeah.
where people would still do this in like modern and stuff. For me, it was Assassin's Trophy. When that card got printed,
yeah.
I ran 4 Assassin's Trophy in Jund because I was
Okay.
like, this just answers everything, and I want to make sure that everything has an answer.
Oh, sure. I had Huntmaster of the Fells in Modern. Remember when Bloodbraid Elf got banned and Jund needed a 4-drop and you could try out different things, and it felt like you could try out Chandra Pyromancer, or some people were playing Huntmaster or Olivia or whatever. Huntmaster was a good one.
Surprised you didn't go with Olivia. That must have been a really
It was a lightning
hard
bolt
choice.
format. It really.
Yeah,
I love
true.
Olivia, my favorite card of all time. I did try it, of course, but Huntmaster I felt was better.
Olivia was a sideboard card for me because I would bring it in against like elves and just start pinging off their stuff.
Yeah, good in the mirror too, normally. Anyway, we should talk about CEDH pet cards.
Let's go back to CEDH.
Yeah, you have one in mind?
Jund is a pet lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a
for
pet
us,
lifestyle
I guess.
for both of us. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's talk about the card that is on both of our lists just to get that right off.
Get it right out of the way.
Food chain.
It's food chain.
It's food chain. It was always food chain.
Yeah, not the best combo in the format. At one point, 5 years ago, it was considered to be one of the best strategies. Now, I think that's overall probably not true, right?
But it is the best in our hearts.
It's the best in our hearts.
It just depends on how you look at it.
And we've talked about this before, but the food chain wins games things is kind of because it doesn't really make any sense. On paper, it feels like it should be kind of bad, and yet for some reason, food chain continues to win games. It's just, it pushes you through, it makes you mana, it wins the game. Yeah, it's a cool card.
Yeah, I really like food chain. What we're gonna rank all these too?
Oh, okay, sure, yeah.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, we love
How
ranking.
do we want to rank them then? Like in terms of, should we read food chain
Well,
too?
We could, I guess. I have a list of my top 10 Magic cards of all time. We could compare it to that. I don't think that's really helpful here, though.
I don't think that's really helpful here either. Let's give food chain a 5 real quick.
It'll get a 5. They're all getting 5s because there are pet cards.
Because there are pet cards. That's true. Well, some of them are more pet worthy than others, I would say. Because like there's some on my list. Like Mana Drain is on my list.
okay,
and this
okay.
is a card that I don't really play anymore, but this
Yeah.
was a card that I played like way too much. Way longer than I should have. Mana Drain, of course, is blue for a spell that counters a spell, but you, on your next main phase, get to make colorless mana equal to the mana value of that spell.
Weirdly, at one point, this was like almost a downside because this card came out when Mana Burn was a thing. So if you couldn't use all of that mana, you would take damage for each mana that you couldn't use, which made it like not incredible.
They thought that they made a counterspell worse than counterspell.
Right, but it's far, far better.
Now, especially
Now without Mana Burn, it's much
after
better.
6th edition rules.
The issue with cEDH is holding up 2 mana for an interaction piece just to maybe not use it is bad tempo, I think, for the most part. It's not a good idea to trade resources with one opponent in a 4-player game. You really only want to do that if you feel you have to. So holding up counter magic while not progressing yourself forward is normally, I feel like, it is not a winning strategy.
Yeah, and I liked it because it could counter creatures.
Yeah.
In a format full of non-creature counters, I liked having an extra way to be able to hit creatures, and creatures always cost mana. Like, you're never going to like need to hit Dark Ritual or something.
Right, yeah.
With that, like, it's always going to be like a 3 mana thing that you are probably hitting with that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's good against Atali. Or I mean, in theory, it's good against Atali.
That's the thing,
on
like
paper.
ad nauseum. Like
Yeah.
it was played against ad nauseum all the time.
Right.
And Protean Hawk was something else that people were trying to do. Like there's a lot of things even now in the format, like you say Atali, Crowns exist, Tivit still exists. Like there's a lot of great things to hit to get you enough mana to push you into a win on your turn. But like you said, holding up 2 blue is so A, telegraphed, and B, impossible to do now.
Yeah, you just lose too much tempo if you can't convert it into a win directly. Now, if you are using it as a ritual and you're pretty sure the Crom player is going to cast Crom on the next turn, and you say, okay, I'll hold that Mana Drain now so I can get 5 mana so that on my following turn I can use that mana for XYZ, that can be a way to use this card to your advantage. But I think that situation is just too rare. That doesn't come up.
Yeah.
And there's too many cards that can get you a similar amount of mana, like right now.
Yeah.
Cabal Ritual can make you 5 mana right now if you build your deck right and play correctly. Whereas Mana Drain, it's like Cabal Ritual on suspend if you're going to counter a Crom, right?
Exactly, yeah. And on top of that, the other downside that I was coming up to was that there were times that I was banking on a player to do something like that so that I could get my Mana Drain value for my next turn. So I would hold up 2 blue, hope that my opponent would cast Crown, and when they didn't, I wouldn't counter what they would do because it wouldn't help push me to what I needed. You end up going, well, do I just like have to counter something to
Yeah.
get the mana that I want? And even then, like if I was trying to bank on countering Crown, I'm losing to the next player. Like, oh, I found a juicy 7 mana target, but just because it was a 7-mana target doesn't mean that it was the correct thing. So like you end up countering the wrong thing in a lot of scenarios under the guise that you're going to get more mana and be able to push under that then.
I love how much we're poorly talking about this card, which is a pet card of yours.
I mean, because I love this card. I still do love it. But like, you know, there's also a bridge that you come to where you have to realize like I'm carrying too much stuff.
Yeah.
And I need to start leaving some things behind. And when you get to the point where you have to use mana drain on your turn during combat so that you get the mana during your second man phase after you tapped out and can't really use it, there's so many opportunities for downside to come up with this card that it makes the upside not worth it even for the smaller times that comes up.
I completely agree. Worse than Food Chain. Should we talk about like what Food Chain does in the metagame? Like we just like breezed past it. I imagine everyone who's watching this knows Food Chain. Should we mention?
Because it was almost just like a bit almost.
Yeah. I wonder, should we say like what it does, what its role is kind of?
Yeah, let's do that. So Food Chain is a green enchantment. It's 2 and a green, and it lets you exile a creature so that you can make mana equal to its mana value +1 of any color for things only used on creatures.
Only used on creatures. So,
not creature abilities, just to cast creatures.
Right. So with Squee or Mishallowed Griffin or Eternal Scourge, these creatures that are monocolored and can be cast from exile, you can cast Squee from exile, recast it, cast Squee from exile, and every time making 1 more mana, you make infinite red this way, and then after you have infinite red, you cast Squee again and exile for a blue, exile for another blue, exile for another blue, and cast it with the red, and you do this again for all of your colors, and then theoretically, you use your commander to cast it over and over again to gain some sort of value that will win the game.
Because it will either like enter the battlefield and draw you a card, or make your opponents lose life, or exile cards from your opponent's library for you to cast.
Right,
like,
something like Atali.
Something like Ukama, something like even Lumra, I would say too, because it just keeps letting you re-get Lumra's cast trigger. That one I think you need like a sacrifice outlet for your lands too, but technically it works.
Lumra's a little bit interesting because, it does allow you to win the game, but not in the regular way that Food Chain does, because I don't think you even need the Eternal Scourge. You need the sack outlet effect, right? Or do you need all 3 of them?
See, a lot of lists don't run Eternal Scourge in them, but I don't understand why, because you can't infinitely cast a Lumra with Food Chain.
You make 1 more each time, and then as long as you have something in play that is like generating you some amount of mana, you can cast it again and again.
But then you also need a sacrifice outlet too. So I guess Lotus, Cobra, and Eternal Scourge do the same thing with Food Chain, because you exile Lumra for 7, but then when you get all of your lands back, Lotus, Cobra sees every land, so it makes all that mana, and you can use some of it. Like, it just makes Lumra cost less, and then you get to a point where...
Or you don't even need the sack outlet, as long as Lumra hits 1 land each time. 1 land each time.
But you need an untap. You need an untapper then, too.
Yeah, you would need an untapper or a mana maker, but you don't need a mana sacker. Like, so you need like a Lotus Cobra with the Food Chain. Food Chain makes 1 extra mana, and then as long as Lumra hits 1 land, the Lotus Cobra will make the 2nd extra mana to cast it again? No, because it's 2 more each time.
Each time. So you can, that works once. But then the next time it doesn't work.
You'd have to hit more. Okay,
yeah.
So you would need the sack outlet, Lotus, Cobra, and Food Chain?
So I put Eternal Scourge in my Lumra deck, so I didn't have to worry about this.
Even without the Food Chain, if you have a way to sacrifice your lands over and over again and a Lotus Cobra, that's infinite just there, right?
Even without the Food Chain, if you have a way
to sack your land so Lumra dies right away, you can cast Lumra again. Then with the mana that you have,
yeah,
because
Lotus Cobra, and we're saying if you don't have an untapper?
I'm saying if you don't have Food Chain, you can still win with a Zurin Orb to sacrifice your lands and a Lotus Cobra, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's a win. So you don't. So we were saying the line involves those 2 cards and Food Chain, but you don't need the Food Chain in that situation. So there must be a way to do something cool with Food Chain with only one of those things that on the spot right now I'm not thinking of. Sorry to give you so much fucking shit to edit out in the podcast.
Oh, you just did delete and fast forward and delete?
But you can just double check us and then like chime in and let us know where we're wrong.
I really do want to know. I really do want to figure that out. I would love to know why you don't need to run Eternal Scourge in Lumra.
You exile the Lumra,
make 7 mana.
7 mana, then recast it 1 time and get the stuff back. Maybe you just need a land sack outlet and Food Chain?
You exile Lumra first so that you get the 7 mana, then you sacrifice all of your lands. And then you recast Lumra.
With hopefully the 1 extra mana that you have for 8 now. Then you bring all those lands back in, and hopefully you hit 2 or 3 more to be able to like do it again.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, like, why do we have food chain?
Pull up the primer real quick. Let's know what we're talking about. Everything that I think of brings me back to I think
it doesn't need food chain because it needs something else already.
I don't know why my brain's melting over this. Is it just a ritual in Lumra?
It might just be.
And there's no Eternal Scourge in this list. Double check on that, because I know food chain with Eternal Scourge in Lumra means that you mill your whole library and bring all your lands back in play.
There is no Eternal Scourge.
There's no Eternal
I
Scourge.
had to put Eternal Scourge in the deck because I wanted Eternal Scourge so that I could use food chain as like a win con.
There's nothing in
But
the...
even then, like even if you food chain and then just do Lumra infinitely, you can mill your whole deck, put all of your lands into play. But if you don't have the untapper, you can't do anything with them then.
Right, you still need the untapper.
You still need the untapper so that way you can like keep mirror pooling and then you can keep sacrificing your lands that way. So like food chain might just be a way to kill Lumra. It's just a way that like if you don't have a land sacker, it is a land sacker is basically what it says here. If we have a land untapper, then food chain and command beacon lets us win on the stack without a sack outlet.
What does that say?
This deck does run several ways like kill Lumra apart from sacrificing all of our lands. While these aren't strictly necessary for any of our combos, they very much smooth things out. If we have a land untapper, so we're on to something, then food chain and command beacon lets us put a win on the stack without a sack outlet.
Because command beacon allows you to put the commander back in your hand and avoid the command tax, and Luma brings it back.
Yes,
okay,
but we need the land untapper.
We need the land tapper,
way...
but you don't need a land sacker with it. That's the part that I was tripping up. You don't need just the win plus food chain. You need the specific land and the untapper.
Correct, yeah, because the untapper means that when you sacrifice command beacon to put Lumra into your hand from the command zone, it goes to the graveyard so that Lumra always brings command beacon back into play untapped. And then that way, when you exile Lumra to food chain, Lumra goes back to the command zone and you have 7 green so that when you put it back into your hand, you're always netting 1 green as you continue to go through this loop.
We found it. We figured it out.
Well, we didn't do shit. The person who wrote this primer helped it out.
And we found the part in the primer where they said how to win with food chain.
How long did that take? Oh my god!
Only a couple of seconds, as according to the viewer.
Only a couple of seconds, but that's what food chain does.
Yeah. It's a fast combo deck. We used to be faster.
God.
It folds to Ristic Study pretty hard.
That's true. Yeah, unless you play Atali with it.
Unless
and
you play
Atali. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are we going to rate Mana Drain?
Oh, like as an actual card, like a 1. I don't think there's any deck that really should be playing it right now.
Yeah, Mana Drain's gonna get a 1. That sounds
good.
But
I have 5 in our hearts because it's a pet card.
Now let's move on to one of your pet cards then.
A good one or a bad one, because some of mine are good and some of them are not good.
Well, that's how I felt too. We're gonna start with a good one.
Okay.
Necropotence.
Perfect. Thank you.
Necropotence.
Perfectly said. Necropotence, it feels weird to call this a pet card, but it's just my favorite card in cEDH right now. I play it in every deck that I can. It's one of the best cards in the format, I think, and in some of the best decks in the format. So, again, weird to call it a pet card, but it's like my favorite card to play. It does so many cool things.
That's because it's 3 black.
That's what it is.
For an enchantment that lets you pay a life to exile the top card of your library. And at your next end step, you put all the cards you exiled with Necropotence into your hand, but then whenever you discard a card, it gets exiled.
Yes, and
does it
notably,
do anything else?
Yeah, when you
it skips your draw phase.
You also skip your draw phase, which is almost always probably like bad, but realistically, you get to skip a mana vault damage if the mana vault is tapped because you skip your draw phase, which is where that deals you damage, which is kind of neat.
Mana vault has way too many times that triggers happen.
Specifically, though, the Necropotence, the exiling from the graveyard, that is a trigger. They go to the graveyard, and the Necropotence will trigger and try to exile them, which means you can respond to that trigger. So if you have something like an Underworld Breach, or what I'm recently finding out that I haven't actually done in practice yet, or asked the judge about, but I'm pretty sure this worked, with a flipped Green Goblin, since it gives discarded cards mayhem, meaning you can cast them from your graveyard. If I were to have a Green Goblin in play and Necropotence for a bunch, and then just go straight to discard. Normally in the cleanup phase, I'm not allowed to cast any spells, which is after end step. But if something goes on the stack in the cleanup phase, I am pretty positive I'm allowed to respond to things that go on the stack in the cleanup.
We know that you are, because this is how decks like Gitrog Monster
works,
wins.
right?
This is how like Niv Mizzet Perun used to win a lot of the time too.
Right, so if you draw 30 cards with Necro and you go right to your discard and you keep 7 lands in your hand and discard all the other ones, if Green Goblin is there, there will be a trigger from Necropotence to exile the cards from your graveyard, but in in response to that, you're allowed to cast them from your graveyard because they all have mayhem because Green Goblin saw them discarded. So you can cast a 1-mana Born Upon the Wind from your graveyard with the Necropotence trigger on the stack to exile it, and then continue to win the game with the Born Upon the Wind after that.
Or like a 1-mana,
Valley
even like
Floodcaller.
Valley Floodcaller, still
Bingo.
1-mana, yeah.
The other fairy.
The 4-mana one's now a 2-mana one.
4-mana one's now a 2-mana one, whatever it's called. And
High Fate Trickster.
High Fate Trickster is what it is. I'm not playing that one, but you could be. The exiling thing, I've had a couple of people ask, is Necropotence really good in Green Goblin because it exiles the stuff from your graveyard? But I would argue that not only is like Necropotence just good enough that even if it doesn't synergize, you should still play it, but I think it's actively good, actually, because since it's a trigger that goes on the stack, that means there's a moment that it's still in the graveyard, so Green Goblin can still do something with it.
It makes it just way easier. Since like the mana is so reducted at that point.
Something else to note about it with Underworld Breach specifically, this is another one that people think like, oh, it doesn't really work well together. It does actually, because the end step triggers to sacrifice Underworld Breach and the end step triggers to put the cards in your hand with Necropotence are your triggers, which means you can put them on the stack how you'd like, which means that you can look at the cards with Necropotence first and then hold priority with the Underworld Breach trigger to sacrifice it in the end step, still on the stack, and with all those cards that you see, do something with the Underworld Breach still being there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because you
look up all the cards with Necropotence, and then your Underworld Breach trigger to sacrifice. That's still in the stack. You're allowed to hold priority here.
And the same way that you would want to Born Upon the Wind on your end step to win with Necro instead of your cleanup like we have been talking about.
You win in your end step now.
You just wait until the Underworld Breach is about to be sacrificed before you win.
Right, so you can like with your Necro cards, you find Brain Freeze, you cast Brain Freeze, you mill over cards. You can still cast them from your graveyard with Underworld Breach with that trigger to sacrifice it on the stack.
Yes, I just had to figure out where we were in the turn cycle.
Right, we were talking about cleanup, and then I kind of moved to end step. It's a little bit of a confusing cards. Yeah, and there's obviously even more things that I'm not talking about here, but I think there's this conception that Necro is not really good in graveyard decks, and I would argue nowadays that's actually just not true. The way cEDH decks are built, Underworld Breach and Born Upon the Wind make it so that Necropotence still works like really well with these cards.
Yeah, I think Necropotence is just good enough that like it's worth playing in every single black deck that you have now.
Even if it's just pay 4 life to draw 4 cards a turn and fill your hand up back to 7 or whatever, that still
feels
good.
Great. Yeah, like
really
you're
good.
still drawing cards in a rate that the rest of the table is not. You don't need to be super pushing to do 30 all the time. Like I flipped into it with Atali the other day, and I just refilled up to 7. Well, I say 8 because you always, like, one of the cards is going to be dead at least. So you always, I like going over maximum hand size so that I have the option to sculpt.
To select a little bit, yeah.
But, like, your life total is going to depend on things. Your board state, your opponent's board state depends on things, too.
Something that I think about a lot, it depends on how many lands you have in your deck and if you're trying to hit a land or not. Because
that's also true,
You have to remember you're skipping your draw phase. So what you find on the end step, that's all you're seeing before your next turn. So if you need to hit a land drop or something, you have to think how many lands you have in your deck and how many cards you need to exile to kind of like hope that you will hit a land drop at least.
Yeah, basically try to think of like what an opening hand in your deck looks like.
Right,
like if you are built like one of these newer Rogsai builds that have 22 lands, they're only expecting to see 1 land throughout the game until they Necro or Adnaz. Like that I think is a good way to try to anticipate how much your Necro for 7 might be.
Another quick thing about Necro is how do you know how much life to pay? That's a very difficult one. First thing you have to think about is where are you in the game? If you are on turn 1, I rarely think it is a good idea to just punch the 30 button and drop to 30. The reason is, in order for you to win in the end step, you need to have Born Upon the Wind, which means you need to have 2 mana prepared, which means you need to have a way to make that 2 mana. So if you don't have it out right now, there's nothing in the game that's going to give you blue and a colorless at instant speed in the end step. That doesn't exist. That might not exactly be true, Manamorphose, whatever. There could be an insane thing. It's unlikely, right? So you have to think about that. Do I have any mana afterwards? Do I have mana for either Born Upon the Wind or Valley Floodcaller or a Final Fortune to then take an extra turn and go after that? Normally, if you get Necropotence out on turn 1 or even turn 2, that's not the case. So what I normally do is just like a refill. Either pay 5 to 10 life, somewhere in that range. If I've completely dumped my hand, I'll pay 10 life, look at 10 cards and choose 7 of them, and then that's it. And then I'll go to the next turn and then try to win on turn 2. If I actually only needed like land, Dark Ritual, Necropotence, maybe I just exile 4 cards and just like look at the next one and just get a little bit. And then with the goal being on turn 2, I want to make sure I hit a land drop and then another mana if possible, because you want to have at least 3 mana on the second one so that on your second turn or whatever the turn is after you play Necropotence, you can pay like 25 life, draw most of the cards. I like to go to like 5 life. I don't really go lower than 5 because of things like Ancient Tomb, Vampiric Tutor. There's just like a certain amount of life that you need to like keep going after that. But I go down to about 5 normally and then hope to find Valley Floodcaller, Born Upon the Wind in that that group of cards and then put together a win there. With the Born Upon the Wind, you can play the rest of your fast mana and normally win with like Underworld Breach is the line by casting Breach and then replaying all your fast mana and Brain Freezing and Thassa's Oracling or something like that. That's the main way that I'm winning. It's not really just like jam Necro, 30 cards, sculpt a perfect 7, go to the next turn. I find out that doesn't really help as much. You do a little push and then you do a big one the next turn.
Yeah, it makes you the threat immediately too. Like everyone starts talking about you, everyone's saving their interaction for you, and then someone goes like Mystic Remora on their turn, and you go, oh shoot, I gotta fight through this now as well. I didn't sculpt for that.
Right, and which is why you ideally want the Necro out on turn 1, before the creatures are out so they can talk about who they want to attack, before draw engines are out, because so you just need the Necropotence out, because if the draw engines come out after the Necropotence does, you're gonna draw 30 cards, whereas they're gonna draw like 5, and out of your 30, you can probably find enough interaction to like hold them off, either with, depending on your colors, like a silence, or somehow Born Upon the Winding in a defense grid or something like that. Thinking about like Mindbreak Trap and like what type of counter spells could be very helpful, of like, do I just need to get the silence off first before like the Flusterstorm is live or something like that, and then after that I can fight over I don't need to fight over the Born Upon the Wind or something, right? I think those were all of my main thoughts. I hope I didn't misspeak on anything about Necropotence. There's obviously other things that you can do with it. Beseech the Mirror finds it. Dark Ritual makes it easy to cast, yada yada. But one of my favorite cards. It's such a cool card. It does so many cool things.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's like a 4.75 in the format right now.
It's better than we gave Food Chain 5. It's better than Food Chain.
It's not better than Food Chain, dude. Wrong.
I give it a 5 out of 5. Truly,
you give it a 5 out of 5.
I guess just for me, it's like one of my favorite cards. It's around my favorite card in CEDH.
It probably should be a 5. It's a 5.
There are black decks, I suppose, that wouldn't play it if you're like a bad black deck or something.
It's probably like my Tim the Malcolm list probably shouldn't be on it, but I love it in the Tim the Malcolm. Like even though I'm doing it slower, like I can just always make sure I have my hand. Like Tim is always letting me see more cards anyway. So again, like it's just a card advantage engine. That's all that it is.
It's another Ristic study, and you get to decide how much it draws you.
Exactly. And I like it in Tim the Malcolm because I only need to attack with 3 creatures, and I can leave all my other creatures back so that I'm still not necessarily a threat. At least this is all in theory. I haven't gotten to cast it yet.
Oh, not yet.
Every time I've seen it, I go, this is going to make me the threat, and I'm not in a spot where I want to be the threat, and I have to discard it to hand size.
That is true. It making you the threat thing does make it a lot more difficult to play the slow game with it if you don't have good blockers.
Because Tim the Malcolm in particular cannot win fast. My problem has been trying to find win conditions, and maybe like I would just find a win condition if I Necro and get to see way more cards though too. So maybe I've been playing it wrong in that deck a little bit. So there's a lot of nuance to this card. It is truly one of the hardest cards in cEDH to play. So we'll do another podcast in the near future with like a bigger deep dive on what to do with this and ad nauseam and stuff like that.
I think most of the time, if you can just survive the turn cycle, I think you should be able to put together a win with Necropotence normally.
Yeah, I think so too.
Draw 5 and then draw 20. Most decks should be able to. I mean, if you're built to win with it, if you're not built to win with it, like Tim and Malcolm, maybe not though. But you should be in a good spot.
We're gonna move on to another one of my pet cards now, and that's Delney Streetwise Lookout.
Yeah, you've been playing a little bit more Delney recently.
I have. Yeah, it's really been like the reason why I wanted to move over to a Timna deck too, and why like I didn't put Blue Farm together was because the decks that were doing well did not play Delney.
Yeah.
So I think that's also like another big indicator of a pet card. Like my deck choice was also based on Atali. Like now I have the inverse of Atali, but that was another part of my deck choice was that I'm not on Blue Farm because I want to try out Delney right now.
Yeah, I think Delney's really good, dude, and it allows you to turn your fair games into unfair games. It allows you to be unfair now, which is like so important.
Doubling anything is just absolutely broken.
Yeah, and it's crazy. You don't even like fully realize it until it's like you have Delney out, Timna out, and you attack with just a Malcolm, and you make 2 treasures and draw 2 cards just from that one thing.
Just off of that,
Let alone if you attack with something else too. Like if you hit 2 players, you're drawing 4 cards with Timna now, which like starts to feel really insane.
Or if I have a second pirate and I'm able to make 4 treasures even then.
It gets out of hand pretty quick. Like you don't really realize, oh wait, drawing 4 cards and making 4 treasures is like insane.
Exactly. Yeah, like it's a much more creature-oriented version of than what like a lot of Timna Crown decks are. I'm trying to have my creatures around for longer, which means that I'm able to farm more value value out of them. So like the more Esper Sentinel triggers that go off and the more Orcish Bowmaster triggers that go off, because I'm trying to make the game go longer, the more value I'm able to get off of not just them in general, but then the extra value that Delney comes in and gives them too.
Yeah, you said it. Delney is fucking awesome. The only thing I was going to mention is like you miss out on Underworld Breach in Tim and Malcolm, and that's like we were talking about, like the reason why it's a little bit trickier to win is because you don't have Underworld Breach.
I'm doing this shit instead.
Right, you're doing this shit instead. You're drawing 2 cards with Esper Sentinel, which is like really great, but the converting to a win part can be a little bit trickier because Delney is good, but it's still slow. Like you're drawing 4 cards and making 4 treasures, but we just talked about Necropotence drawing you 30 cards.
For the same mana value.
Right, yeah, so it doesn't exactly match up 1-to-1, but if you can stay alive, if you can stave off the Necropotence player and not die to them, and you last long, you will come out on top.
Which it does really help you do, but it's a synergy piece, right? Like Necro on its own gets you there in the game, whereas like Delney requires that you have 3 to 5 other cards in play that
already in play.
Yeah, that are actively helping to push you forward more like that. 3 to 5 is probably a bit of an exaggeration. I think if you have 2 to 4, you're like Delney's aggressively helping you win at that point.
Right.
But like you're still at the mercy of the top of your library, or like that is what you're at the mercy of, the top of your library.
You could draw 4 lands.
I could draw 4 lands. Like, I need to find a tutor, but, like, all my win conditions require multiple pieces. Praetor's Grasp and Mnemonic Betrayal require me to be in very specific spots, even though they are technically 1-card win conditions. Whereas, like, my other win cons are Thassa's Oracle base, and they are all 2-card combos. So, like, I have to do these weird piecings together, and it is nice to draw 4 cards in one sitting, but sometimes the cards I need are not in those 4. I have to wait until I'm drawing cards 5 through 8 before I get a semblance of a plan.
And another thing to kind of note that this deck can kind of fly under the radar a little bit, because
this has been its strongest point.
Because like, yes, you are drawing like 2 or 3 cards extra a turn, which is like really good, but like then like Atali goes and like flips over 19 cards, and suddenly you don't seem so bad. And then like the Rogside player goes and slams a Necropotence in play, and suddenly you don't seem so bad. So you're like always not quite the threat while still drawing enough cards to like not die when you need to.
Yeah, there's a Brian Koval game that I don't know if you used it for the Chill to Win that just came out. But
it's for the Chill to Win. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. But
there's a game that you wanted to.
No, it's okay because now I can talk about it. Yeah. So he goes, "Hey guys, I know that like we're all focusing on me and I'm the threat."
He was playing Rog Thrash, so huge board state at the time.
But he's like, but Cam's been slowly accumulating a ton of value with like Timna and Malcolm. I'm just like sitting on the other end of my camera going, "Shut up, Cam. Shut up, Cam. Shut up, Brian." Like
everyone shut up. Nobody talk.
Stop talking. Yeah. But that really has been like his biggest strength. Like it doesn't put these humongous over the top boards out. It just slowly accumulates some value.
Just a few cards.
Stays alive with like 1 or 2 pieces of interaction for only things that are going to actively win the game, and then eventually finds a safe way to win themselves.
You are playing a lot of Grand Abolishers and Silences, and even the new one,
Voice of Victory,
which is honestly particularly great with Timna and with Delney, right?
And with Delney, yeah,
extra one
I get an extra trigger too, and you know I did also just put Caverner Souls in there too for just extra protection to make.
You got a lot of humans in that deck. I feel
there's a human in Grand Abolisher, Ranger Captain, and Voicer, like those 4 things.
The very relevant ones. Your commander sometimes, but more importantly, Grand Abolisher.
And I feel like I need Grand Abolisher to win with this deck too. Like a lot of my windows are only there because Grand Abolisher can come into play first.
In this, I don't remember if it was this game or another one. I remember you had Grand Abolisher like triple protected, and like that's how you were able to win the game, is like you were able to triple protect the Grand Abolisher, and that's all we had at the time, and you win the game afterwards.
I think I still needed to reanimate it back in play just in case.
That was also the game that I had just used a mental misstep on Tyler's Sacrifice, and then you use reanimate on Grand Abolisher. I'm like, fuck, stupid idiot.
Especially after Tyler was just politicking with you too.
He's like, I just want to play Orcish Bowmaster Mayhem Devil. And I'm like, oh yeah, I love that. There was a politic moment that I was gonna bring up from Atlanta, but I completely forgot what it was that I like said something that was...
Who said it? That's someone against my VV.
Oh, is that what it was?
That's what it was. That was the one that sticks out in my mind. We were playing against someone, and you were like so poised for a win.
Oh, the Chain of Vapor.
I just had like a big VV.
Yeah.
And you just said, you could bounce the VV, and the guy just goes, oh yeah, okay, sacrifice the land, I'll bounce VV. And I'm like, I'm not going to copy the chain. And in my head, I'm going, I should copy the chain and bounce Green Goblin, because we're going to lose. But I'm like, I can't do that. I will lose if I do that too. Yeah.
Going down Atlanta so bad.
That was so funny. That was great.
Do you want to talk about another pet card?
Can we rank Delney real quick before we move on to another pet card? Delney's like a 2.
All of your pet cards aren't 5 out of 5s, and all of mine are.
Because mine are like real pet cards.
Yeah, okay, sure. All we've talked about is Necropotence and Fujian for me, sure, yeah. yeah, tell me as well. Like, it's really good in some decks.
Very specific Timna decks.
There's 3.5, talk about another card.
So, 3 point, Delney. Fuck it. Let's talk about another card that you are petting.
Maybe a bad one. A petting?
Dismember.
A bad one, finally.
Finally, a bad card that Dylan likes.
But I love this card. For 1 mana and 2 Phyrexian black mana, you can give target creature -5/-5. That's it. The most important part, I think, is that you can pay for this with 1 colorless mana.
This has been your pet card since Winota has been the bane of the format.
It's so good. Yeah, I truly think in most situations I like it more than Swords to Plowshares. Specifically, the easier to cast part of it, I think, is just truly so good. It's very underrated. Using Soul Ring to cast your removal spell feels incredible. It's hard to put into words. Specifically, I like Dismember in Sisay because Sisay is a pip-intensive deck that still needs to play things like Soul Ring and Mana Vault and shit like that. While the white pip is very important because Sisay requires a white pip, and a lot of the most important legends, I don't know about most important, but they require a white pip as well. So a lot of the times I feel like I want to be using my white mana on other stuff, and I want to be saving my Soul Ring. Like after cast Sisay, sometimes Soul Ring doesn't do anything for a while. So like being able to still use it to cast Dismember is huge. Now in Necropotence and Ad Nauseam decks, this still costs you 4 life to use, and
it's 10% of your life total just to cast it.
Right, and it's 3 mana off of an Ad Nauseam flip. So it does have some downside, whereas Swords to Plowshares doesn't lose you any life at any point, to any time. In fact,
the opposite.
In fact, it could even gain you life theoretically if you needed to target your own thing. So in those situations, Swords is still better, but I still like Dismember a lot more. The only things realistically that it doesn't kill, and there's always caveats, but Consecrated Sphinx and Hullbreaker Horror. To me, those are like the only real things. Atali, I guess. There are times when I wish I could Dismember an Atali with a Heat Shimmer on the stack.
Or like a Hoarding Broodlord with the Saw in half on the stack, I guess.
Yeah, okay, yes, sure. There are a few. We could probably list 5 more cards that are somewhat less relevant.
But I hate just listing cards that make something relevant or not relevant because...
It's kind of our job.
No, but I mean, like, I don't think like it's a... No, I know listing cards is part of our job.
Listing cards and deciding if they're relevant or not relevant.
No,
that's what we do.
That is, but like I don't think it's a good way to identify if a card is good or not. Yeah. There's always going to be cards that you could see, but do you see them? How often do you see them? Like you can't just name a card and go, oh, that makes this card good now.
And realistically, in most of those situations, I don't really like the Consecrated Sphinx is the main one that I bring up because that's the one that I would really like to kill. The other ones, like it feels weird to say, like I would just rather hope somebody else deals with that shit. I want to save the Dismember for like Opposition Agent and Drannith Magistrate and things like little sax pieces that stop Sisay. That's the goal of Dismember for me.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's not to kill the Hullbreaker Horror when they're going off.
That's too late. By the time that Hullbreaker is there, they have backup. It doesn't matter. Swords or Dismember, they're Force of Will in either way. If they're going for a win, they can probably protect it most of the time in the late game. Where what I want Dismember for is early game. I want to slam it on turn 1, getting rid of that Drannith Magistrate so I can put in Sisay or whatever. Opposition Agent is the real thing that I want to kill when I'm playing Sisay. But as long as it kills those things, that's what I'm looking for. And the other things, I'm just going to say, I'm going to lose to those stuff. I'm going to lose to that.
Just lose to Atali. It's fine.
It's fine. Pick your poison. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Dismember is probably worse than Delney.
I think
I like it more. I've never really played Delney much.
Dismember's way more replaceable than Delney, and I think that's part of the reason why Dismember doesn't see so much play is that bounce spells do the same thing.
There's a very good argument Swords is better than Dismember. I like Dismember more, but there's a world that Swords is better, right?
Yeah, and again, if I've been saying that blue decks don't need to play Swords to Plowshares, blue decks certainly don't need to play maybe a super pip-intensive blue deck, but that's because Sisay is more of a 5-color deck than a blue deck.
We have Into the Floodmaw now. We have Chain of Vapor. There's the other removal spells that are better. Into the Floodmaw specifically is the new one that makes Dismember a lot worse because if for 1 mana can do the same thing.
Delney ended up with a 3, so let's give Dismember like a 2.5.
2.5. What do you give it?
A 2.5.
I'm going to give it a 3.5. 3.4. I'll give it a 3.4, so it rounds out to a 2.9.
Okay, that sounds good.
Math,
now
right?
it's still worse than Delney, so it's okay. Yeah. All right, we're going to move on to another one of mine.
Yes, please.
This is a large conglomerate of cards, actually.
Several
I'm cheating a little bit.
Oh.
When I say Curiosities,
this
has just kind of been my wheelhouse in 2025.
Yeah.
There was Curiosity, Tandem Lookout, and Ophidian Eye and Vivi.
Yep.
And then there was Keen Sense and Snake Umbra in Tanuk.
These are specifically cards that when they're enchantments and auras specifically that say,
Yes.
well, I guess the tandem
Or
look has a creature, right?
Yeah.
But say whenever this creature deals damage to an opponent, you draw a card, which means in Commander, we have 3 opponents, we draw 3 cards.
And most of them are maze, which is very nice.
Oh, that is okay.
Tandem Lookout, you have to watch out for, but you can easily bounce it back to your hand or something like that.
What do you like about these cards?
What I really like about them is the synergy that they have with a lot of other commanders. Like I already mentioned the 2 that I played this year, but Y'shtola is another commander that we got this year that was really taking advantage of Curiosities. The problem with them is that they're auras and that they have to bond with another thing of yours. That just like gives this huge window for your opponents to do something, and you have to politic like a politician in order to make sure that nothing happens to your creature so that you can do your thing and go off. Like at MagicCon, I only had 1 spell in my hand at the time that I was going to cast, and that I need to find things with Vivi and Curiosity to stop the other 2 scary players. And lo and behold, I drew into Mana Vault and Quicksilver Elemental.
I'm not going to win this turn. Then you cast Final Fortune, and I was like, son of a bitch.
I was like, yeah.
Fucking got us.
It's going to end up not being this turn, yeah. So.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
Yeah, so I have really liked Curiosities, although I will say I'm in a bit of a transitional period with Vivi where I think Vivi's coming apart just for something else.
Do you not want Ral?
Yeah,
I feel like you're going back and forth a little bit.
I feel like I am, yeah, because now that I have Tim the Malcolm and Atali, I can put whatever I want together. I have the color pie set up over there.
Right, yeah, you can be completely balanced on your next pick.
It doesn't need to be a blue-red deck, so why do I want to, like, do I need to stay in blue-red?
No, I don't know. Think so, yeah.
I don't know. So I'm still thinking about Ral a little bit, which would also mean that I can't play Curiosities, a pet card of mine for 2025.
Should we talk about the other? I feel like we have to talk about like the history of cEDH. We have to mention Niv Mizzet if we're talking about Curiosity.
Oh, and just straight up Curiosity Control.
Curiosity
too.
Control, yeah. Thrasios Vial Smasher was once a deck in cEDH that was actually quite good. At the time, we thought it was good. You put Curiosity on Vial Smasher, and then every time you interact with the table, you draw cards, which ends up allowing you to interact a little bit, and Vial Smasher is a 2/3, and at the time, and still now, Tymna was really dominating the format. Like, every deck was Tymna, so having a 2/3 was actually weirdly relevant.
Yeah, and then that way, like, it kind of mitigated the problem of card disadvantage when interacting with your opponent, since you were always replacing whatever you used, which was kind of nice.
It's wild how many more decks are, like, viable now than were, like, 5 years ago in cEDH, because when cEDH was, like, first being created, to me, it felt like there was really only, like, 5 to 10 decks, because, like, there wasn't enough people experimenting in cEDH to find the other ones, and Wizards hadn't really fully been printing for Commander yet, so we didn't get powerful things like Atali and Obnixilis and all these other commanders. So, like, everyone, it felt like, was partners. That was everything. Everything was partners.
Or single cards that were already like way too pushed, like Najeela.
Right, yeah. Najeela was like kind of I feel like one of the first of its kind that was like insanely pushed, like it stood out amongst the partners or whatever.
Yeah, really.
But yeah, just different time. Curiosity Control was an awesome, super cool deck.
Niv Mizzet, like you said, Niv Mizzet just goes infinite with Curiosity. You deal a damage with Niv, draw from Curiosity, deal a damage with Niv.
7 mana, 1 card win. I say 1 card because Niv Mizzet is not a card because it's in your command card.
Fake
command
card,
zone.
yeah,
It's
your
0.
commander doesn't count as a card.
Always there, you always have it. So 1 card refers to the amount of cards you must find. You must find 1 Curiosity.
For rules purposes, your commander is a card, but for combo purposes, your commander is not a card.
For considering it in combo potential, it's not a card. Anything else on Curiosity? What do we rate this? Worse than Dismember?
It's low. But it's
probably not worse than
Dismember. Worse than Mana Drain.
No.
No, they're better than Mana Drain?
Way better. Mana Drain's not playable, I don't think, right now in cEDH.
I'm talking about taking apart Vivi because I don't know how good Vivi's going to be in the long run, and we know that Tanuk doesn't see any play.
That's true. Yes, but like, I think the Curiosity, okay, I can see what you're saying. Maybe just right now, Curiosity is certainly better than Mana Drain. I don't know if that's always the case in cEDH.
But right now, there's more of a reason to be on Curiosities than on Mana Drain.
What's the reason to be on Mana Drain? Like you're in mono blue?
Because you like it. Because it's your pet card.
The reason to be on Curiosity is like it fucking wins the game with a new commander.
I think if you're on mono blue, you're not on Mana Drain.
Yeah, right? Like
you just still don't want 2 mana interaction. I think all 2 mana counters are just too bad. You think that they're better than Dismember?
I don't. I would rather play Dismember.
Yeah, me too. I think. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, let's
just like if I'm building a deck.
Yeah, what am I putting in first? Like Dismember.
If Tim the Crown.
What the fuck is Curiosity
Which one would I want to play in Tim the Crown?
Dismember's more flexible. Dismember could go in any black deck. Curiosity can really only go in like very specific decks.
Curiosities get it too.
2 sounds great.
Let's talk about another one of yours.
Please.
Reckless Handling.
New one from Green
New
Goblin.
one, yeah. This is a...
One in a red for
Yes.
sorcery that says search your library for an artifact card and then discard a card at random. If you discard an artifact card, not that one, anyone, deal 2 damage to each opponent. This card feels terrible. I understand that. Whoa. Stop shouting.
But it's gamble, though.
It is gamble for an artifact.
Yes.
Which in specifically Green Goblin, where Lion's Eye Diamond, in my experience, is basically make as much mana as you want. That's what the card reads. It says for 0 mana, make as much mana as you want. This is really good because now for 2 mana, you go find Lion's Eye Diamond, and if Green Goblin is already out, if you discard the Lion's Eye Diamond, you can cast it. If you discard something else, you can sacrifice the Lion's Eye Diamond, cast it from your hand, sacrifice it to cast the thing that you discarded because Green Goblin is out. So in Green Goblin specifically, because you need to find Lion's Eye Diamond and can also backdoor into finding Wishclaw Talisman or Defense Grid, I think that this card is like fine. It's like pretty good.
I mean, there's other decks. Like, I feel like a lot of Dargo decks could probably utilize this because it gets you any of the sacrifice outlets that you want, like Altar of Dementia.
sure,
It
yeah.
can go get you. It can go get you the ones that make mana as well. So, like, depending on which direction you need to go with Dargo, like, you're already in an Underworld Breach. Like, if you're already playing Gamble and if you would want to gamble for an artifact,
Maybe
this is an
considerable.
easy shoe-in.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit tougher because it's a big restriction. But specifically with Green Goblin, because the discarding a thing is not real, it's just Demonic Tutor for Lion's Eye Diamond. I think that makes it much better. The Dargo decks sometimes go low on cards, so I would be nervous that like you have to do a 2 mana, 3-hand card, reckless, whatever it's called, handling, and then it'd be risky.
I do that in Atali all the time for Treasonous Ogre, though.
Yeah, I could certainly seeing some play in some other decks that are looking for artifacts or are looking to do graveyard stuff. But in Green Goblin specifically, I think it's like actually cracked. I think it's actually just good.
It's insane right there. I think there's probably some other homes that I'm probably even forgetting right now, too.
But specifically in Green Goblin, because Lion's Eye Diamond and Wishclaw Talisman, if you need to find anything, and Defense Grid and Grinding Station, like most of the places where I want to go, this card can still find, and the discard is nothing.
Mono Red Derevi.
If anything, the discard is like ramp. It makes the cards easier to cast.
What would you rate this card?
Did you say Mono Red Derevi?
Yeah,
Why did you say that?
because it's a color shifted one. Like when we go back to, I meant to say Deretti, obviously,
Obviously.
but I had to commit to this bit that I was doing.
What is
where-
Derevi? Like, it can bring artifacts back from the graveyard, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
so even if
okay,
you
sure.
discard the thing, like you can just get Portal to Phyrexia
Maybe
back.
in Deretti. If you want to play Deretti, maybe you play this in Deretti.
I don't know who you're talking about now.
There's 2 people in the world.
Yeah. All right. What do you rank it?
Realistically, it only goes in the one deck, and I'm not positive it's good in that deck yet. I think it is, but I'm not positive, so I gotta say it's worse than Dismember. I do think it's good though. In Green Goblin, it's really good.
It's worse than Curiosities then, though, because we
Yeah.
think it's good in Green Goblin when we
hasn't
know
proved
that
itself yet.
Curiosities are good in Y'shtola and...
Do we know that though? Vivi and Y'shtola haven't really won much yet.
no, but
they've just
neither
been
is
around-
Green Goblin.
They've been around longer, and Green Goblin has only been around for a second. You're probably right, though. Only for experience, I'll give it to Vivi because they've been around longer. But in 6 months, this number might be different if Green Goblin actually ends up being good.
That's true, but the problem is we're just doing it right now.
We're doing it for right now.
So
1.9.
1 point. I was gonna say 1.5.
Sure.
Let's
It'll-
do 1.75. How about that?
That sounds like the perfect math.
All right, great. 1.755. That sounds great. Okay, we're gonna go to
Add an
my.
extra in there.
We're gonna breeze through my last one.
Okay.
It's Atali.
It's your favorite card
It's
at
the
this
favorite
point,
card.
right?
It gets a 5, and we're gonna move past it.
Why? Should we talk about why Atali's so good? We talk about it all
Atali's
the
so
time,
good
but
because
yeah.
it's a 7-mana commander. That's a 7/7. That when it enters, exiles cards from everyone's top of their library until they reveal a non-land, and then you just cast those fucking spells right now.
4 near guaranteed spells.
4 near guaranteed spells. Your guaranteed spells,
You're
it
gonna-
might
they-
be Force of Will.
They might not do anything.
Yeah.
You kind of miss on counter spells. Not kind of. You straight up miss on counter spells. There's weird worlds where you can actually, and offer you can't refuse another counter spell that's targeting one of your other spells on the stack and make that treasure.
Maybe like a Mox Diamond even if you don't have a land to discard. I've loved coming up with that.
Yeah, but dude, Atali, it's great. It gets better and better. If a lot of times it feels like the Adnaz turbo decks, except Adnaz is just in the command zone. Like you just need the mana, you just need one thing. All you need is 7 mana. That's not exactly true, but it basically is. Your main goal is like, can this hand count to 7? If not, we look again.
That is all that I'm looking at. Yeah, if I can get to Atali on turn 1 or turn 2, then I can keep that hand.
Right,
but if the hand does not count to 7 on turn 1 or turn 2, I am mulliganing until at least 4.
Which I think it makes like Atali realistically, I think I might like stand by that. I think Atali is like the best deck for beginners in cEDH for a couple of reasons. One, because of what you said, the game plan is very straightforward, at least in the beginning. Now, organizing 4 spells that you're seeing off the top, that can get a little chaotic. What the fuck am I casting? What's going on?
Yeah, and it does really require like an understanding of the stack so that you know where things go and like you said, how things are ordered, like where the counter spell interaction will work with that too.
Keep in mind, like you want the stack resolves in last in first. How is it?
First in is the last out.
First in is the last out. The first thing that you put on the stack is the last thing that will resolve.
If you have Wheel of Fortunes and tutors, you have to make sure that you don't tutor and then Wheel of Fortune, right? Like there's very specific ways you have to make sure that things end up stacking. But you do get to learn everyone's deck this way.
That's
and you
the
get
other
to
important
like
part.
We had a game in Atlanta where I could not find a tutor in anyone's deck. You had no library anymore, and I was just operating off of like my deck and then 2 other non-black decks, and I ended up having to win with someone else's infinite combo because I got enough Atalis to find 3 creatures that comboed infinitely.
Yeah,
together.
you eventually found like Emil. That's what it was. You found Emil and made a bunch of mana and were able to flicker Atali until you could find the other Emil combo pieces out of like the Derevi players or the Naya players deck or something.
Exactly, yeah. And you get to do fun things like ad nauseum in an Atali deck. And you're like, oh man, how many cards can I see in my Atali deck off of ad nauseum?
Probably not
like,
many, but some.
You're in a red-green deck, but you have to figure out like how deep you can ad nause. Like what life total do you have to stop with ad nause because you play 7 mana and 9 mana cards in your deck.
Yeah.
You also have to know your gifts ungiven piles because you will flip into gifts ungiven and intuition.
Right. What does Ranger Captain get when you find it?
Exactly. Yeah. So like there's a lot
Wild
of
Canter. I think
now is the answer. Yeah.
How do you know when it is time to shift into a win con? And like what's your main win with Atali? Like, are you looking for food chain as quickly as possible? Are you looking to dual caster, Underworld Breach?
Yeah.
Like,
so it's always food chain.
Just
it's
look for
always
food chain.
Yeah. The timing with dual caster is very weird. Like you can spin into another twin flame and then like dual caster and try to put a win there, but there's other times where you really want to win on your second main because you had to get like a Ragavan attack in for your 7th mana or something like that. So I'm always trying to go for food chain first. It's the easiest and will let you spin into something else without needing a second card as you can keep going.
And it works so well because it helps you cast the second Atali really well, and then all like the stupid creatures that you get from your opponent's decks, now that'll all turn into mana. So when you get a Birds of Paradise, that's a Rite of Flame. When you get, no matter what, it's just like more mana.
Yeah, that's the thing. So like that's kind of like what we were saying with Lumra. Like you can go so long without needing your food chain combo piece because you're making 8 mana. Okay, yeah, your next Atali costs 9, 11, and then 13, but okay, I spun into my Wandering Archaic, and it's clear you guys don't have interaction, so I don't need it.
Right, there's 6 mana more, right?
Yeah, I can just use it for some other stuff too, yeah. And the fact that you never miss, like you're always hitting spells,
hitting a spell,
is so strong. You're exiling people's cards too, so like there's so many scenarios where like you now have to go, I have to fetch before Atali goes off. If you exile the thing I want to fetch for, I'm screwed.
I've done that before where I have to, use my fetch lane because if you hit Underground Sea on the way down to hit meeting a card and I can't fetch Underground Sea, that's gonna fuck my whole shit up. So you have to remember to fetch before the Atali starts exiling your stuff sometimes.
It's like weird tech against like Gaia's Cradle decks. Like you just have a free way to get rid of their Cradle while also getting a great card from their deck too.
The fact that it benefits off of a turbo meta a lot, I think. Everyone's playing more turbo cards. Atali's gonna flip into better stuff, but it also benefits really well into mid-range world because they're not gonna be making enough mana to cast the spells that you're giving them off of Rhystic Studies in time. So like for every 4 cards that they draw, you cast 4 spells, which means that you effectively use like 7 mana, and they have probably tapped out for the Rhystic Study because it's turn 2. So they have to find Forcible, and if they don't, you probably get to do another Atali thing. Okay, they draw 4 more cards. This time they find a Forcible, but you have 4 spells in the stack now. So very quickly you realize that like you can push through those Rhystic Studies pretty well.
You really can, yeah. And it's really made this deck be tier 1, tier 1.5 at the very least right now.
I've seen a couple things. It's like one of the it's like the 5th most played deck or something. I saw a couple things. Yeah. It's like actually doing really well.
It's having trouble winning this month is what it looks like, but that's just this month, and this was coming off of last month's insanely high, Atali standings that we got. So there's definitely a lot that this deck can do, and it is going to continue to do a lot as the meta continue to evolve. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, definitely. It gets the benefit of like being the best big commander in cEDH. So anytime Wizards prints anything that's like good for big commander and it's in red and green, Atali gets to use it.
Atali gets it,
so it's getting new toys all the time.
And right now, Red's getting mana dorks. Like, there's so much more design space that can grow where Atali's going to be. I mean, mana dorks aren't great in Atali now, but like people have been testing a Vendo Brush Razor.
Yeah.
So like there's going to be more things like that we get that are combinations of mana makers plus other good utility that we'll get that will end up being insane for us.
And I feel like that duplication, like we've gotten in the last like couple years, a couple of cards like that. That's like firmly in Red's color
we got 2 in the past 2 years, I would say now. Yeah,
that like temporary clone a thing and give it haste. That's like firmly Red's thing. That's like what Red does a lot and does it well. And the flashback one was also recently
that is just a fucking if I hellbent gamble,
good.
That's a chunky.
That's a chunky right there.
That's insanely powerful.
The more Red gets this aspect of hasty, doesn't matter the haste, but like make a copy of a thing, Atali's gonna eat all that shit up. Would you spend 4 mana on that effect? Is there a 4 mana one?
I'm on Eldrazi Confluence now.
Which is
a 4 mana version of that effect. Which
are you gonna keep it or are you gonna cut it?
I think I am. Because now there's been multiple times where the removal aspect of it has come up where I'm looking at it in my hand and there's a Dranith in play and I'm like, this is really good. Every time I've done that though, I've gotten blown out.
I deflecting swatted you one time.
And the time before that, I also got blown out. So twice now Eldrazi Confluence has come up and either A, I misplayed, or B, I got blown out because of deflecting swat. However, it was great in both scenarios.
Yeah.
It was just something.
It would have been great.
It would have been great. I'm just an idiot and my opponents have what they need. There's going to be times where that card's going to be very good. I need to give it some more time, but I think Eldrazi Confluence has been one I should have had for a while.
You got to remember the colorless. It requires colorless mana on that
and
one.
I wasn't on it because I wasn't on City of Traders and Crystal Vein for a long time, and now I'm on both of those. I was considering having City of Traders be like one of my pet cards because I feel like it's the only card I talk about.
You've been talking
now.
about it a lot recently. Yeah, it is so good.
I'm gonna get it tattooed on me. Just the word City of Traders.
Just traders. That's great. Yeah, I agree with whatever the last thing we said was.
Great. Atali gets a 5, and we have one last card we're gonna talk about today.
Let's talk about the last one.
Dark Petition.
Oh, this one's a good one. This is mine.
Yeah, this is yours. Yeah.
This one is one that I've tried before. I've tried it in Kark decks in the past, I think, and just Grixis decks in general and Rogsai.
In Kark, that's funny. You have the opportunity for 2 tutors and it ramps you.
And it makes 6 mana. Yeah, with Flare of Duplication, it's quite good.
It's just because this is a 5 mana tutor with Spell Mastery. So if you have 2 or more instants and sorceries in your graveyard, as this card resolves, you get to make 3 black mana.
That's what it does. Thank you very much. Specifically, this is another Green Goblin card, but I actually think this one's good in Green Goblin.
We did talk about this a little bit last week with like the LED thing where it's free.
It's free. It's basically free off of an LED. Yeah, it's more than free. As long as you have Spell Mastery, the LED can pay for it right away. So crack LED, discard your whole hand. As long as you have 2 other spells that you've discarded that were in your hand, Dark Petition can't be one of those 2 spells. You have the 3 mana from Lion's Eye Diamond. Now that Dark Petition costs 2 less, it only costs 3 mana, and it also makes 3 black mana, so you can cast it from your graveyard and then go find something and then have 3 black mana to play with. I had like a Goldfish game, and now obviously this is a Goldfish game, but the hand was like Gemstone Cavern, land, Lion's Eye Diamond, Cabal Ritual ad nauseum, which is so insane because that start right there is a turn 1 Naz, because with just those 5 cards, you Gemstone, get rid of whatever the 6th card was, play a land, play a Lion's Eye Diamond, crack Lion's Eye Diamond, discard Cabal Ritual ad nauseum to cast your Green Goblin. You have 1 black floating. Now Cabal Ritual costs only 1 mana because you discarded it, so you cast it, make 3 mana, and your ad nauseum costs only 3 mana since you just discarded it. So you cast it for 3 mana, and you go right there. Obviously, that's Magical Christmas Land, but it was a hand that I drew, and I was like, oh, wait, turn 1 Naz. It's possible after casting your Green Goblin, which is like the particularly important part, because now that I ad nauseum, if I find another way to discard cards or something, all my shit's going to be reduced, which is really good.
That's interesting because I was going to say there's ways that like Dark Petition just lets you do that, but if you do that with Dark Petition...
What do you mean do that?
Dude, you can still Necro on turn 1 with that same line, except if instead of ad nauseum in your hand, if it's Dark Petition,
you go find Necro.
Yeah, exactly. You just go find Necro, and then you can Necro from your hand that way too. So like this also kind of does. Wow, man, yeah, this is the Dark Petition deck.
I think this is the Dark Petition deck. Now it's a shame that I'm not playing Flare of Duplication as a way to copy Dark Petition, because a copy Dark Petition, like we mentioned before, 6 black mana and 2 tutors is
but
insane.
You can't get rid of your Green Goblin.
You can't really get rid of the Green Goblin. There are actually moments where I have Diabolic Intented the Green Goblin or Culling the Weakdom at the end when like he already done his job and I just need to get the breach in play or whatever. But it's not going to be the same with Flare because
I feel like Flare, you're in the middle of the job.
Exactly. Flare's job is in the middle of the job, and I'm not done yet. Whereas like those things like are the final thing. So I don't think.
Or it's either resetting the job from scratch.
Right, and it only works. The Flare is only insane with Dark Petition. Outside of that, it's going to feel terrible. Whereas Diabolic Intent and Culling the Weak can feel good outside of one situation.
That's true.
Specifically, where I know we're talking about Dark Petition, but like the discard outlets like Ghostly Pilfer, you can discard the cards first, and then Culling the Weak, the Ghostly Pilfer, and the discarded cards are still reduced.
They're still discarded.
So they're still discards. So you can still do its job and still use it. Anyway, Dark Petition's not really cracked. It's such a cool card, and I wish it was better. And I think in this Green Goblin deck, it's actually something. I probably realistically can't make it better than a Curiosity, but I like it more. So I'm going to firmly give it a 2.8.
A 2.8. Okay. Yeah, I'll agree with that. It's good. Yeah. All right. Well, we got a good list. These were our top 9 pet cards that we're playing in cEDH.
Should we rank? Should you have them written down?
I do, yeah. So the worst one is Mana Drain.
Yep.
Followed by all Curiosities. Followed by Dark Petition. And then Dismember. Oh, no. Reckless Handling's worse than some of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Something goes there with the caveat it's worse than some of those.
Then it's more, but yeah.
But it's higher on the list, but it says next to it it's worse than some of those.
Yeah, it's just higher on the list, yeah. And then Delney.
Yep.
And then 3 things got 5s.
Food Chain, Atali, Necropotence. Those all look like 5s to me.
Try to guess what decks we're playing in the comments of this video.
I feel like I want to make it a 10. The video's over. Thought Scour. I'm throwing it on as number 10. I love Thought Scour.
Yeah.
I always think about it. Get someone's Mystical Tutor out of here. Fills up your Underworld Breach turns. It's an instant speed cantrip is really good. I never pulled the trigger on it, but Thought Scour, my number 10.
I almost put Burning Inquiry on it for you because but I didn't want to answer for you. But I always think of that one Q&A when someone asked, "What's a pet card that you do?"
Burning Inquiry?
You go Burning Inquiry, and then I cut it. I always cut it.
I always cut it. It's not good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. Thanks so much for watching. If you'd like to support us directly, you can do so on Patreon like our $100 patrons.
Tom Bieber, Damn Nandez, Cumulative Upkeep MTG, Mr. Jerby, The Cardboard Cookbook, Penguin Man 0089, Eli the Magic Guy, David Newman, Rocky Hall, Pat Fires, Frogman, Spangler, Demetrius Clark, Larceny Roars, Your Boy Blue, Sparky B, Insomnia, SC Phillip, Olden Groupie, Zach Hartley, Big Legs Banjo, Reactive, Sean and the Ice Scareberg, Garrett, Mace the Ace, Alex Smith, Luke Cook, Connor Sipon, Joshua Day, Peter Stewart, Corner Wild, Uncle Butts, Noosh, Quajay, Hamid, Scott Hawk, and Baby Jeebus.
You can pick up any of our merch at playtowinmtg.com.
Thanks, Dragon Shield, for supporting the show. Use code Play to Win 5 at our affiliate link down below.
Follow us on social media and the internet for more content.
Thank you for watching.
See ya next time.
Johnny Hughes, Fred's dead, Ben Finelli, Jason Brooks, Safarius, Ashwayne, Z-Trep, Hunter the Warlock, John Koba, Sarcastic, Mystic Muffin Man, Zachary Coulson, Dalton Poteet, Justin Jan Wild, Fang, Thomas Bueno, and David Nelson.